Hello everybody, we are going to start our discussion on the Keynesian School of Economics Part 4. This is going to be our last video on the Orthodox Keynesian School. What we are going to do in this video is that we are going to talk about the concept of the Phillips Curve. Then we are going to talk about how Keynesians or Keynesianism included the Phillips Curve into their analysis. And then we are going to finish with a summary of the Orthodox Keynesian School of macroeconomics. So let's start with the Phillips curve. So the Phillips curve was a relationship between unemployment and inflation. And it was discovered by William Phillips, an economist, and he used the UK data in order to analyze this relationship. So the relationship was found to be nonlinear and inverse, meaning that when there was a percentage increase in money wages, there was a reduction in unemployment, and vice versa. When there was a reduction in the percentage of money wages, there's going to be an increase in unemployment. So he used money wages as a proxy for inflation, and then he used unemployment in the UK. So this is William Phillips, and the paper was published in a journal called Economica, and the title of the paper was The Relationship Between Unemployment and the Rate of Change of Money Wage Rates in the United Kingdom between 1861 and 1957. So I was looking at the paper, and I copy some of the charts that were in the paper. So for example, one of the main charts of the paper is this one. So this is the rate of change in money wages, percentage per year, and then we have an employment rate for 1861 and 1913. So he found this negative relationship that we were talking about before for this period of time. And then he also has an interesting graph, which is from 1913 to 1948. And here the relationship was not very clear, right? So here you can see the same variables. You see the curve fitted to the 1861-1913 data, but you can see that the data doesn't follow a clear linear or inverse relationship, right? So he argues here that he says there was something special about this period. Maybe it was because prices of imports increased. So he found some kind of exceptions to his theory. And then the Phillips curve was included into Keynesianism, into Keynesian analysis. So how so? How did the Keynesians include this? So in the Orthodox Keynesian analysis, we had like an increasing government spending will increase aggregate demand, and then aggregate demand is gonna shift the IS to the right, and that's gonna increase production. An increase in production is gonna be associated with reductions in unemployment, but also an increase in aggregate demand is gonna increase prices and money wages specifically. So there we have the inverse relationship, lower unemployment and higher prices using the Keynesian model. So this increase in prices is what we call cost push inflation, because there is an increase in money wages now. There is going to be higher prices for all the products in the economy. And the same analysis will happen if there is an increase in the money supply. So this relationship within the Keynesian school was seen as a short-run relationship, not really like a relationship in the long run. And actually, many analyses have been done in the past years regarding the Phillips curve, and there is evidence that this was more like a short-term, very specific type of relationship that could not be generalized. Okay, now let's move to the last part of this video, which is a summary of the central proposition of Orthodox Keynesian economics or macroeconomics. So the first element is that modern capitalist economies suffer recessions due to lack of effective demand, right? So it's not about supply shocks, it's not about productivity or entrepreneurship, or it's mainly about lack of demand. Another implication in this model is that unemployment is involuntary, right? So there are people who want to work but they cannot work. They don't find a job. They cannot find a job, which is different from the neoclassical view in which employment is voluntary, right? Like people don't work because they make a calculation between leisure and work. Fiscal and monetary policies have an important role to play to stabilize the economy, right? So this is about government spending, monetary policy, and analyze these elements within the ISLM framework and the implications that this is going to have in the level of employment. Another characteristic of this school is that prices and wages are not perfectly flexible, right? They can be sticky. And that means that aggregate supply curve has a positive slope. Not vertical like the classics. So that means that in the short term, if there is an increase in the aggregate demand, in the short term, there is a real effect in production, either by government spending or by monetary policy. And this is due to the lack of flexibility in some prices, like price stickiness. There is a trade-off between inflation and unemployment. We have talked about it, the Phillips curve. And the focus is in the short term, not in the long run. So it's more kind of a target to crisis, in the short-term crisis. The Orthodox Keynesian reached the peak of their influence in the mid-1960s, right? So this several decades ago, it was the time where they were more influential in the profession and also in terms of government policies. And then full employment became the main goal, right? They wanted to reach a level of employment at the full capacity of the economy. So the Orthodox Keynesian economics is in some respects still prevalent today. And during the coronavirus crisis, for example, we have seen several aspects of this in terms of like stimulating the economy and trying to reduce the impact of the crisis in the economy. So some might argue that those policies are Keynesian in a way. Okay, and then I'm sorry. And then we have in the next video, we finish here. In the next video, we are going to talk about the monetarist school. Okay, so thank you. Bye.